Hey everyone, Michael Anthony here. Van Halen, Chickenfoot, Sammy in the Circle. But anyway, you're listening to the only podcast that is dedicated to breaking down the entire Van Halen catalog one track at a time. And the podcast will rock. Ow!
Hello, baby!
Hey everyone, Corey from And the Podcast Will Rock here, and this is part 2 of our Fair Warning Ranking live show. What we did is we polled our patrons, we polled fans on our Twitter feed, and we asked some experts to rank what they think the best tracks on Fair Warning are from 1 to 9. This is the show where we announce the results of all those different rankings. We got a great panel, including some of our patrons. Chris L. from Pot of Thunder was able to join us, Eric Senich from the Van Halen News Desk, and we had a heck of a lot of fun. Hopefully you listened to part 1 before you're joining us here in part 2, because we're going to kick things off with the song that finished number 4. All right, let's find out what finished number 4.
Oh, yeah. What? Oh,
Wow.
Jesus. Come on.
That's right.
Oh boy.
Number 4. So this is Love.
Right here.
Total points 178. One person had it ranked first on their ballot. One person had it ranked 9th on their ballot. Its totals are 9th, 1, 8th, 0. 7th spot was 3. Let me just turn this down just a smidge.
Now turn it up instead.
Oh, yeah.
Put that
6th place.
scarf on.
There you go. 4 votes for 6, 6 votes for 5th, 14 votes for number 4. That's where it finished on the list. 3 votes for number 3, 1 vote for 2nd, 1 vote for 1st. So This Is Love hits the top 4. What do you guys think?
Yep.
Everybody's kind of nodding.
You start with we'll start with you, Eric.
Wolfman scarf right here. I say.
Eric? Where did you land this one?
Where did I have it? I had it at number 4.
Number 4.
Aha.
Yep.
We're right there.
Yep. It was released as a single, one of 4 singles. Did okay. As we know, there was no huge hit
Great live footage of it.
Single of the album. This is just kick-ass song. Yeah, great live footage of it from Oakland. Yeah. Great bass line, and listen to that solo.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's pristine Edward right there.
Yep. And there's that video at the prehistoric park that is now classic.
That's the worst.
With Dave's humping a huge T-Rex or whatever.
So this is the one I thought I was gonna get a lot of flack for, because this was my number 5.
5?
Yeah, it was my number 5, and I think only because I tried to not let
That's fucking Dave right there.
that Dave Howe.
Yep.
I think I didn't want recency bias to come into it, because we had gone over this one not that long ago.
That's right. Yeah.
And I don't know. Yeah, there was something about my top 4 just beat it out barely, which surprised me, because I thought Dirty Movies was going to fall a little bit lower. But as I mentioned earlier, that song just kept annoyingly so picking at me, and I was just like, I don't hate this song that much. I really like it, and I'm liking it more and more every time I hear it. So with all that being said, yeah, it's So This Is Love had to at least crack the top 5, because I dig it. It's got all the things that I really enjoy about Van Halen, but it not to the point to where it's my all-time favorite on the list. So that's where it fell onto me. So for it to be number 4 amongst all the other votes, not surprising. I get it. I'm surprised I'm not being thrown daggers at so far. But Scott Haskin, how about yourself? Where did you put So This Is Love?
I also had it at number 5. Being somebody who reviewed every Uriah Heep song on the Magicians podcast, Uriah Heep is huge into shuffles, a lot more of the double shuffle thing. But for some reason, this just, again, it just lacked a little bit of power for me. Like I like it, but I kind of wanted, instead of like didn't, I want like didn't, just something a little bit, a little more driving.
A little more driving. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Especially when you consider a couple of the other tracks on this album. You know, if you want it to drive, fair enough. Fair enough. Chris L., how about you? Where did you put So This Is Love?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Corey, but I'm pretty sure I had the lone second place vote for this one.
That's correct. Yeah.
Wow.
I feel really good about that. In fact, Mark, just want to say, I don't know if this is coincidence or what, but when you announced that this was fifth for you, both of my Bushwhackers figurines fell over on my desk right behind my phone there. So I don't know what's going on with that, serendipity perhaps, but you know,
Mark's doing the Bushwhacker. Here we go.
Yeah, there you go. Number 2 for me. This is my favorite Van Halen single of the entire catalog.
Wow.
Just when I heard this, when I first heard this just grabbed me immediately. One of the best snare drum sounds in the history of rock, in my opinion.
Agree.
Hell yeah.
The snare work is incredible, and then just that chord progression once they ramp it up with the under the pins and needles part, when it's sort of the bridge between the verse and the chorus. That chord progression just, as Gene Simmons would say, just cracks your ribs, hits you in the sternum, and just always loved it. And then, of course, the solo is brilliant. It's almost like a template for the Beat It solo. Kind of reminds me of what he ended up doing on the Michael Jackson tune. It just had that kind of same feel, and I don't know. I love it. So it's solid number 2 for me, and I feel pretty good about that.
A solid deuce for Chris L. You heard it here. So there it is.
I'll take him. I'll take any solid deuce I can get at my age. I'll take it. Believe me.
Oh man.
So this is love indeed. Scott Monroe, how would you rate this song?
I had it right here at number 4.
Ooh.
Yep. And I wrote a little manifesto about that people can read. But one thing I said there is, to me, this is a great example of Dave selling it and how no one else can sell it like Dave. I did say, Mark, that I think it's also an example of how we talk about Eddie can be untouchable, but also Dave can be untouchable as well. And I'm not saying Dave is always untouchable. Dave certainly has his faults, but here he is untouchable, man. He is for me the one who is just bringing it home and selling the song with his authenticity. His lyrics are amazing. It's all about Dave in the song for me, and his screams and shrieks are just top notch.
Vocally speaking, I would say no one else is going to pull this off in this song like Dave. This was a song made for his particular vocal style, so I'll concede that. Yeah, right on. Sean, how about you, man?
Numero 3. Number 3. Yeah, as that trifecta of videos that were released, like that live in Oakland footage, like this was on heavy rotation. We had a VCR. I taped all 3 of those songs, and Todd and I would just watch those 3 over and over. So this is, for me, like after hearing 1984 and then going backwards in the catalog and discovering 3 live tracks from Oakland of Van Halen, it was mind blowing, because like this stuff's even better than 84, and 84 is phenomenal. So yeah, number 3 for me.
In the top 3 for Sean McGinnity. All right, Chaz, can you beat that?
Well, again, because I had Sinner's Swing at number 1, this for me came in at number 4. I mean, honestly, this is one of my favorite songs in the entire catalog. It's there's just a few songs ahead of it that I love more. I can't believe that there's one song that has not come up yet that is on my list toward the bottom. So I'm more interested in kind of getting through the rest of them because, I mean, everything that everybody said about this song, for me, this one contains one of Roth's greatest lyrics. The grass was never greener and there's plenty around. The whole attitude, like we said, when I was on the show and we did this song, the swagger that is Roth on this song, that no one else can pull this off like Dave did. This is signature Van Halen, and yeah, for me, doesn't get much better. But yeah, there are just songs that I love more.
That's fair, but it finds its place at number 4, like the grand majority. Scott Everett, are you with the grain or against it on that one?
I had it number 4, so right. I've been pretty spot on with the group. So yeah, I mean, it's just a great boogie the whole time. And I think, again, any of the people that grew up on the MTV generation that recorded the 3 videos from the Oakland show are going to love all 3 of those songs. And it's no surprise that 3 of the 4 are in the top 4 here. So, and again, Eddie's solo is fantastic. And then the drum breakdown at the end of the solo is just fantastic. It hooks me every time. So just love this song.
Good. And Corey?
I had it number 3. I really love this song, and it's got a great groove. It just makes me happy. I think I was listening to the Pot of Thunder episode on Journey, Don't Stop Believing, and I was in a good mood. I'm throwing out all these free plugs for Pot of Thunder because everybody should go listen to this.
Everybody. Dude, I just got to say that
Chris L, you're supposed to be plugging your own show, dude.
If my show is affecting your moods to that extent, you're in big trouble. You are in deep shit, man.
Our moods, it affects our lives, Chris.
Well,
exactly.
You all need to reevaluate.
Shit.
I can confirm Corey is a monumental fan. I don't think an episode goes by where he doesn't mention Pot of Thunder in some way. So I mean, it's a credit to you and your group over there.
It is a great show.
But
yeah,
well, thank
you.
It
is. So
yes, it is.
Yeah,
it is. Yep.
But
and if you haven't listened
nevertheless,
to it lately, it's better now than ever. But number 3 for me, number 3 for the fans on the polls too, 90.8%. What Dreams Are Made Of, 9.2. This stream is over. For some of our special guests, I know Steve and Darren from the DLR cast both had it at number 4. Number 5 for Steve Rosen. Number 6 for Greg Renoff. Number 5 for Jeff Goebel. Kelsey had this one at number 4. Number 4 for Greg Prado. So This Is Love is number 3 for Sean. We mentioned that. Todd McGinnity had this one at number 5. And Johnny Bean had this one all the way down at number 6. So that's
show yourself, Johnny Bean. Come out of hiding. We just want to know.
Johnny.
He got some explaining to do.
Johnny just interviewed Andy Summers.
Yes,
What?
he did. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
I listened
cool.
to it today.
That's cool.
So is Andy Summers like 90 now?
80.
How old is that guy?
80.
I'm just saying, when the police were at their
He was old.
apex,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
was fucking
Older than the rest
40.
of them.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely. When he joined the band, he was like 33 or something.
there he
Yeah,
is.
he's 80
Yeah, I
years old.
follow him on the socials. He's
There's Johnny.
pretty active.
Yeah.
Doesn't
I
he
emailed
do,
Johnny today. I said, props,
guitar
Johnny.
pedal out too?
Yeah, go check out Johnny's channel. Ton of great interviews. And yeah, that Andy Summers one is phenomenal. Absolutely great stuff.
Explain your rankings in the chat, Johnny. Like, we're waiting to hear from
Hey,
you.
what's
Hey,
Johnny's
who had,
channel's name so we can promote it here?
Sorry, what was that, John?
Corey, I was going to ask who
I was
had.
going to say, what's the channel name?
Oh, geez,
Oh, Johnny? Oh, Johnny Bean TV.
Yeah, Johnny Bean TV.
Yeah, you just put the name in there on YouTube and
Johnny
it's
Bean
there.
TV?
Yeah. And then, Chris, were you asking who had it number
Looking
1?
for it.
Yes,
Yeah.
if you said it, I missed it. So.
Yeah, it's actually our patron, Per Lineker, one of our very first patrons on the podcast.
All right.
Yeah, had this one number 1. So,
Good for him.
yeah.
Wunderbar to you, Per Lineker.
That is a him, right?
Yeah, it is.
That
Yes,
is
it is.
him.
Yeah.
I think they
Sounds
identify
like
as
it,
him,
yeah.
yeah.
Did anybody mention that Eddie's riff too throughout the verses in So This Is Love?
I mentioned the chord progression. It's like between the verse and the chorus, that sort of under the got me, the pins and needles section.
Oh, yeah.
That chord progression is just crushing, man.
Oh, playing this song, yeah, right? I mean, if there's any song where you really feel the spirit of Eddie Van Halen, it's in this one too. The pluck in and then the way it just kind of ramps right up. Yeah, love playing this one. Yeah. Wish my vocalist liked singing it.
Time to announce number 3. You guys ready for some Mean Street?
There we go. Oh, man.
Well, too bad you're not going to hear it yet here either.
Yeah, it's got to be up there. Oh, yes.
Get this. I do not get this.
Number 3. Oh, and Chaz is already shaking his head. We'll get to you, Chaz. This is Hear About It Later, voted number 3 on our official rankings. Total points, 207. First track to crack 200. Highest ranking was first. We had 1 vote for first. Our lowest ranking was 8th. And that person is on the call. They can explain themselves. So it had no votes at 9th, 1 vote at 8th, 2 votes at 7th, 3 votes at 6th, 2 votes at 5th, 5 votes had it at 4th, 14 votes had it at number 3, 5 votes at number 2, and 1 vote at number 1 for Hear About It Later.
Well, why postpone the inevitable? Chaz, you seem so not keen about this song taking the number 3 spot. No.
Well,
where did you have it?
I guess this one's kind of hard for me because this one always brings a big smile to my face. Number 1, because everyone knows, you got to jump, right? Everyone knows the coordinated line jump that they do.
Wrong song.
Some of the lyrics out of this one too. Pay my bills. The whole Dave's lifestyle and how he likes to live loosely. I don't know. I mean, for me, came in at 7, which was behind really what I think is, 8 and 9 is really one song. So it was like, again, just like someone said earlier, things have to hit the bottom of the list. It's still, best to, or the least favorite of the favorite.
That's fair. This one was number 6 for me. Only because I wasn't sure exactly where to put this because I like it. I don't like it more than my, obviously my top 5, but I struggled because it could have easily hit number 4 for me. It could have easily, depending on the day, hit not 9, but maybe 8. But I said, no, I think that's too low because I enjoy it a little bit more. So I kind of it's compromise, and it fell at number 6. I don't have a great grand explanation as to why, other than I didn't know where else to put it. To me, it didn't belong in the top 5, but it didn't belong too far down the list, but still somewhere kind of in the middle. So that's why I put it at number 6 personally, and that's my story, and I'll stick to it. However,
Cowbell.
Scott Everett. But Cowbell. I mean, Cowbell definitely was a contributing factor. Scott Everett, how about yourself?
I actually had it at 2, so I knew the top 3 were going to be.
Nice.
I knew the top 3 were going to kind of be mixed, but again, I think the video played a lot in it. The first time I saw the video, I was just mind blown. I remember them pulling out in the later tours. Did a fantastic job with that. I just love the guitar solo. The storytelling within the lyrics is great, and it can't be beat on this song. I love this song. I've always loved this song.
Well, there you go. Number 2. Wow. Big ranking there. We'll move on over to Scott Everett.
We just did Scott Everett.
That was me.
I meant Scott Monroe. There's so
There
many
you go.
Scotts.
Too many Scots.
Tim. Let's go to Tim.
3 Scots to every story.
That's right.
Well, Tim, aka Tom, voted number 6, just like me, because my man. But Monroe Manifesto, please.
Yeah, man, that intro is so tranquil. It's like you're on your way to heaven when you hear Eddie playing those chords, and it just the way it progresses into just this headbanging, amazing groove. For me, it's the chorus. This is one of my top choruses. I just absolutely love hearing Mikey's harmonies on it. Yeah, it's there for me. It's amazing.
Those are some sweet harmonies. And again, tomorrow I might have a completely different opinion and it'd be like, psych, motherfuckers, this is my favorite one on the album now. Nah, I probably won't say that, but close. But good stuff, good stuff. Scott Haskin, I'm going to say this is your number 7.
You're close. It's number 6, actually.
Just like me.
It's not bad. It was one that I actually had a hard time placing because, again, a lot of these were first time listens through without breaks. Like when I hear the song on the show, it's broken up into chunks. So this is really the first time hearing a lot of these songs all the way through. And I found this one hard to rank, but I found just as I was going through them, I had it up a little higher and I pushed it down a couple times because I just thought the rest of the songs that I had above it were just a little bit better.
That is fair. And again, as this was my number 6, I get it. Totally get it. Let's see. Sean, how about yourself?
This used to be this at one point. This was my favorite song, and only because me and Fast Fred, our rooms were side by side. And when he discovered this album, and he's hearing the sound of Eddie's guitar on here, and I don't know. I'm a dumb drummer, so I'm assuming that's a flanger he's got going on there. Is that right, guys?
Yeah,
probably.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
So when Todd figured out how to play this on guitar, and I could hear it playing from his room, and he'd figured out how to get that sound, that dreamy sound, I would just stand outside his room and just listen, going, holy fuck. It was just amazing. So for me, there's a nostalgia to this song. I ranked it 4th, but this used to be much higher on the list for me just because every time Todd would learn a Van Halen song, it was like, okay, I'm in. You know, that made it much more special for me.
All right. There you are. There you are. Cool stuff. Eric, how about you, man?
Well, it's funny. Scott Monroe, I think, was the one who said it sounds like, heaven, that opening. And I think I had said it once before on this show. When I pass away, that's what I want to hear when I'm walking into heaven, because it's so beautiful. But you think on paper, you have that opening and then you have the rest of the song. It's like, how are you going to make that work? And the transition is just perfect. And it's actually, Dave with that scream, bridging the gap there, and all of a sudden it just transitioned to this just badass rocker. And what else can you say, man? I mean, that's a Van Halen deep track. That's perfection right there.
Eric thinks it's perfect, but does Chris
as a deep
L
track.
agree?
Oh, by the way, Mark, sorry, I think you were saying that Chaz had the wrong song with the jumping in unison.
No,
well, he was just saying. No, I was making a joke because he was saying jump a lot, and I was like, well, that's the wrong song.
Oh, I got you. Because it's interesting though, because they did it there, and then they do it in the jump video. So
right, yeah,
easy to
that's just me.
Me
being
that tie back.
cheeky and annoying. Yeah. So no. Chaz is correct. Technically, I'm just being an asshole. Chris L, how about you? Yeah.
This is one where I think I'm dead on with the listeners. I had it at 3, I believe, Corey, if that's correct.
That is correct.
Yeah, this for all the reasons mentioned before, it's like we all know that Unchained is the extreme jet plane flanger sound. But here he's got it like a lot more subtle, but it's definitely there, and it gives that lush quality to it. And I definitely prefer his flanger tones to his phaser tones. I think the phaser gets a little annoying to me when I hear it too much, but I can never get him enough of the flanger when it's used well, which he was obviously the king of. And then those sections that bookend the solo with the "You Can Try Me at Home," just as those chord progressions and stuff. It's just like there's so much going on, and it's all just it's such a high level. And this is quality, top quality music right here, from lyrically, musically, all of it, just primo stuff.
Primo stuff, as he says. Corey, do you agree?
It's my number 2. I think this is probably my favorite deep cut in the Van Halen catalog. I love hear about it later. Yeah. It did get number one vote. That was Steve Roth, actually, from the DLR cast, voted at number one.
Wow, Steve's got number one.
Okay.
Yeah. I had it too. Maybe my favorite chorus on the album and one of my favorite outros on the album. I love the big rock ending on this one.
Yeah.
And I got to have more cowbell. The cowbell is fucking fantastic. And everything about this song is great. It's probably the hookiest song. It's definitely the most fun to sing along with. It's my number two. It was only beaten out by one more iconic song, and we only got 2 songs left. So let's see.
Right.
Hear about it later. The fans on the polls ranked it 5th. 88.8% What Dreams Are Made Of, 11.2% The Dream Is Over. So I'm a little surprised it actually ranks so low on the listener poll because to me this is top 4 Van Halen easy.
Yeah.
Wonder if it has something to do with the fact that it's not like a typical Van Halen single, perhaps. Well, I don't know. You could make the argument that it kind of is.
No, it's a good
even though
point. It's a good point.
Although
Yeah.
I don't. Correct me if I'm wrong. This wasn't released as a single, or was it?
No, but again, it was a part of those 3 videos, so it
Right.
kind of became a seminal kind of like thing, right? And, again, especially that like the dance and like the whole that whole video.
I imagine if it got a little bit more popular video wise and got into a lot more ears, that maybe it would have ranked a little bit higher for people. But I don't know. I'm just speculating.
Well, I think putting it as like a deep track is like the way to do that, right? Because it wasn't a single, but it was a part of that trio of videos. And like for the hardcore that we're always watching those videos, yes, you just can't like take it away.
Hey,
right on. There you
I'm
go.
Wondering, do you know when you have the poll every week, is it usually the same number of people that vote or around? Like, how consistent is the poll?
It's close. Yeah, but it's fairly close. Early on, there wasn't as many, but because for the first like 30 songs, we didn't do a poll. So at one point, I just blasted out 30 polls and said, "What do you think of this song?" So I would say it's within probably 20, 30 votes. Did you say when you remember the poll, right, Mark? Now that you're doing the polls.
I remembered it. I just remembered it a day later. But no, it's there. Go vote. They're all there. I would say it really depends. I think we've stretched out the length of time in which people can vote now. So that has a big factor. But sometimes it's from between 75 to 140. Like there's no it's like that's why I say it's inconsistent because sometimes it feels like nobody's voting on it and then it feels like everybody's voting on it. So it depends on the song, I think. I found that if a lot of people aren't familiar with the track that we're discussing, they're not going to vote. Or if they're not familiar with it and it's a Sammy track, they're automatically going to say no because it's Sammy. No, and it's like fuck off. But anyway. So it's kind of a toss up. Speaking of toss up, I'm going to be honest with you. I had an idea. I'm still leaning towards it. I had an idea of what I think the number one song was going to be. Now I'm not so sure. Now I'm thinking like this might be a lot closer than I think. I could be just, overthinking it, but I don't know. Maybe it has to do with Corey's teasing. But I think you should just lay it on me, man. Lay it on us. What's number 2?
Well, I tell you what, we have 33 ballots from patrons and special guests, and the number 1 and number 2 flip-flopped all week as I was getting ballots in. The difference between 1 and 2 is 4 points. Wow. Like it was that close, and literally today the song that finished number 1 kind of went ahead by 4 points. It was usually by 1 and it would flip back and forth, and this has been really interesting because 1 was a big hit and 1 kicked off the album. So the only 2 tracks left were Unchained and Mean Street. Let's just take a poll of everybody on the call. Who thinks Unchained finished number 1? Show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so only Scott. You think Mean Street finished number 1?
I only think that because that's how I voted. Let's see.
All right. Well, let's find out. The song that finished number 2. Ready yourself, Jeff Brewer.
If it's a slow fade, then we don't want. Yes, number 2.
Wow,
there it is.
2.
There it is.
Mean Street finishes number 2 with 262 points. Its highest ranking obviously was number 1. 12 ballots had it first. Its lowest ranking was 5th. So there was no votes for 9th, no votes for 8th, no votes for 7th or 6th. 2 votes had it 5th, 1 vote had it 4th, 6 votes had it 3rd, 12 votes had it 2nd, and 12 votes had it 1st. Kind of a shocking upset the way things were looking.
Yeah. Is that the highest, lowest ranked song?
I believe it is, yeah. 5th is the lowest it goes, yeah.
Yeah. It was only, look, the last 2 tracks we're discussing, it could only have been those 2 songs, like, honestly. If not, I would have been just so confused, but...
poor Jeff. Somebody call, let's make sure, can we get the police over to his house for a wellness check? He's upset. He has been crowing about Mean Street being number 1 all week, and I'm sorry, buddy. It was number 1 for a long time, but...
Yeah. That's why I said I'm not sure. Because
3 was the upset for me, man. 3 was big. But...
crazy stuff. Scott, what were you asking me?
Have you not met me? Did you know that I could?
No, Scott Haskin, is it?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, the curve. But no, that's true. I guess you could have been the X Factor. So you know what? I'm going to start with you. Where did you rank Mean Street?
I almost think this warrants a drink. I actually ranked it at number 2.
Whoa!
Good man.
I've had on par with everybody. We know my number 1 isn't. So this is the only one I apparently got right. So I'll take it.
This is the one. You were so wrong for the rest of the list, and then finally we get to
one you got so right for 50% of the audience.
Yeah, solid deuce for Scott Haskin on that one, but apparently, according to everybody, solid deuce. There you go. So like Tom was with you, so he's not mad. Chris L., where did you rank Mean Streets?
This was number 1 for me.
This is your number 1.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier that, my personal music listening rig was an 8-track player, but this is the first album that I bought in real time, like the day it came out. The first Van Halen album that I bought the day it came out. And I went with my buddy, and I got my 8-track copy, and he got his vinyl copy. And we went back to his house and listened to his copy. And I'm telling you, man, just that you put that needle down, and on a fresh slab of vinyl, you don't hear a lot of pops and crackles, but you still hear them. Just those slight pops and crackles as that guitar fades in. And then that open G chord that just smashes through your sternum, and then the whole band kicks in, and it's nostalgia for me, but it's also just, this is like apex Van Halen. This is them just absolutely firing on all cylinders, and it just is a brilliant piece of music all the way around.
Not going to argue against any of that. The only reason this one is my number 2 is because my number 1 just hits so hard. We'll get into that. There's really not a lot that needs to be said so that's all I got for Mean Street. It's Mean Streets. What are you going to do? Scott Monroe, what you got?
Well, like I said, it was my number 1.
Yeah.
It's not a knock against Unchained, but we have to pick one. The way I thought about it was, if someone told me you can only listen to Mean Street or Unchained, what are you going to pick? I go Mean Street. It's a force of nature. It's a journey. It's something I would just listen to on repeat. Again, nothing against Unchained. I think Unchained, for me, objectively, is perhaps the better song if you look at more objective metrics. And I know Jeff Brewer and I got into it about this because he argues you can't really look at it objectively. All music is subjective, and I get that. But for me, there's just a gut feeling that goes with Mean Street that just it's the one for me. It's a journey that I never want to end. And with that outro there we just heard, you don't want that to end. So it's number 1.
Great outro. Yeah, and definitely the right call using this one as your opener, your album opener. Mean Streets is such a killer intro.
I don't know if Jeff is on with us right now, but I'll just say I think there's a brand new podcast that's kind of pushing whether you can actually do that or not. Isn't there, Corey?
I don't know how many podcasts I'm on now, Scott. It's more than 3. Yeah, I'm on
all doomed.
I'm planning more as we're talking here tonight, but we are working on something like that. Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking that the Ultimate Catalog
sarcasm
kind of does that, where you're really ranking songs by a specific criteria.
Yes.
I mean, there's always the subjective factor: what makes you smile and what doesn't make you smile, or what makes you smile in this moment and what doesn't 10 minutes from now, as Mark has said. But I think you're finding a way to kind of actually really take music and look at it subjectively and score it, but there's always going to be some element of either nostalgia or in that moment, this is how I'm feeling, or I just listened to Chris L on this podcast and now I want to kick a cat, or whatever it's going to be. Just depending if it's a Striper song, you know.
We at And the Podcast Will Rock don't condone kicking cats.
Or Striper. We don't condone Striper either.
No, we don't.
I mean, like
Northern.
We do condone kicking Striper. If you want to kick the Striper, go ahead.
Yeah. But I think
we condone edible.
Like the most reasonable way to actually break down a song or a group of songs and try and find a way of finding some kind of commonality or difference in them on a more statistical level.
Kick cats above, or kick Striper above cats. Don't kick cats. We're not
kick them square in the crotch.
If you want to.
The only way you can sing higher.
Oh. I'm going to have to provide ballots now for Jeff. He's going to take it to the Supreme Court.
There you go.
The election was rigged, apparently.
Yeah, you're done for now. Sean, where stands you on Mean Streets?
I've got a question for Eric. When we did Fair Warning on, I got to do a plug for my show, because I told Kevin Brown I would do this multiple times. I forgot. So when we covered Kevin? Fair Warning on the Sean Geeky Fast Red podcast with Eric Senich from Booked on Rock, Eric and Todd both berated me for my voting of this song. And
oh wow!
As we were talking about the voting of this song, I wanted to change my vote. I voted this at number 5, and I really regret voting it at number 5. And I'm really, really sorry to everybody.
Wow.
I hate you.
All right.
Sean, I hate
you should hate me.
God,
well, he's
I'm a horrible human being.
So wait a second. Did he change his mind?
Me.
Yeah, did you change your mind?
Went on that day.
Well, no, I kept my vote from our episode that we did. I don't know. Was that a year ago? 2 years ago? Whatever it was.
Might have been a couple summers ago, maybe.
So you kept the same voting
a couple
from that
ago.
to now?
But I kept my votes the same, but I kept my same voting.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
It's all
what a fucking
fault.
idiot I am.
Jeff, it's all Sean's fault.
It's all my fault. It would have been number 1. You know what?
You son of a
gonna kill me now.
I'm gonna slightly reiterate Jeff Brewer, but not. I'm not gonna completely quote him. I will just say, like Jeff, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. But that's it's fine. It's fine. You vote the way you vote.
If you guys want to give me some lashes, I'm okay with it.
I think the fair question to ask, Sean, would do you think your votes would be different 2 years after recording that podcast?
Absolutely, they would be. Yeah. This would be my number 1, honestly. So I totally fucked up the poll. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, you did, and now
that would have made it a tie. I think actually.
I was about to say, I think you would have made it a lot more interesting. So it's funny. Yeah, you see what you did, Sean. You made it less
what
interesting.
A disclosure.
Sean is the Van Halen 3 of voters. My goodness.
Oh boy.
Apologies to Gary.
Oh, ouch.
That is the lowest of blows.
Scott Monroe is on the call. Why are you commenting? You could have just said it.
Yeah, it's fine.
Because I wanted
I was the one that was going to.
You know what? He's gonna reiterate when we get there. But until then, let's
The
just move on. And
intro.
Sean, I
Someone
want you to
just-
sit there and think about what you did. Chaz, talk to us about how you feel about Mean Street.
Well, Jeff just mentioned the intro. I think I saw a video today or yesterday of Bryan Adams requesting that Eddie tap out the beginning to
That's right.
Mean Street on an acoustic guitar, right? So you can still hear it. It was pretty amazing. You can still hear it. I mean, fuck. So, I mean, So again, I voted Sinner's Swing #1. This for me was #3 then, behind Unchained. And, Mean Street. I mean, like you just said, Mark, I mean, what the fuck are you going to say? This is Mean Streets. I mean, Dave's poetry in this song. So, I mean, I know you're not the biggest like Dave lyric fan, but this song, he really does nail the narrative. And it totally matched up with everything that Eddie was doing on the guitar. And just, I mean, everybody, again, another instance where every musician is bringing it. I'm just like the epitome of Van Halen. This record doesn't, I mean, this for me, I mean, I guess there's no surprise here. It's probably my favorite Van Halen record. But it doesn't get better than this. It's Mean Street.
It doesn't get better except for the #1 song. But Scott Everett, what say you, sir?
I had it at 3 behind. Hear about it later, but I mean, I love this song. Eddie's playing is fantastic. Everyone talks about how dark this album is, and Eddie's playing is dark. Dave's lyrics are dark. I wonder where Dave even came up with the lyrics for this, as he was pretty well to do, but the lyrics are so dark. Where was he pulling these stories from and all that stuff? But it just fantastic. And I think a lot of the ratings go back to, I've seen them live, every year since 1984. And the first time I saw them in 84, they didn't play Mean Street. So maybe that's some of why it rates behind the #1 song. But it's a fantastic song. Somebody had to come #2, and this was it.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought process on it as well. Scott Haskin, where did you put this one?
Yeah, I had it at 2.
You did have it too.
It was the one oddball choice of mine. And I just want to say thanks to Sean, because I thought I was the one that was going to get the most shit on this episode. So thanks for taking my spot.
Hey, no problem.
He did it just for you. So, but Eric Sinich, where could you possibly have put Mean Streets on this ranking?
I had it at 2. Very, very, very close behind #1, 2. I mean, it's right from the opening. It's the classic. What the hell is he doing opening? Especially back in the day when you're hearing it for the first time. Yeah. And Dave's attitude is all over this. His delivery is what's disappointing is in recent years when Dave would do this song, he's just kind of scatting through it like he didn't have the aggression and that angst and whatever he had inside of him, it was coming out on that recording. And the ending. You wonder how long that ending went too in the studio. It'd be interesting just to hear that original recording. When do they stop? Because eventually they have to fade it out, but it's just a jam at the end, man. Ed and Al, the brothers.
50 measures until they finally had it, called it quits. That's 50 extra minutes.
But I mean, you can imagine
50 phrases, and it's like this song never ends. I can't imagine
though
that.
Ted Templeman and Don Landee just sitting there like, keep going, man. This is fucking great.
Right.
30 minutes later.
Yeah.
And then now, they'll play they probably could have played the whole night.
Sure. Yeah.
That's so Van Halen, though, right? I mean, so many of their songs, some of the best jamming is in those damn outros.
Oh, yes.
God, like whole songs in those outros.
Yeah. It's
New vote, revotes. No, this isn't the. This is not the 2001.
Sean might want to go back. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And we've talked about Alex so many times, but just a little bit like the stop and start. The thing was like, where's he going? Whoa, where's he going?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just brilliant.
Makes me wonder how much it changed if they did like keep that going far beyond the fade out. I wonder if Eddie decided to change it up a little bit. Did Alex change it up? Is there like a whole new section we just never got to hear because they finally were like, okay, we're good, we got it.
That's what I was just thinking to myself. Somewhere in the vault. There, right? Yeah.
By the way, what about live? What about live when they did this? Like, I'm just wondering if they extended it.
Don't know.
Yes.
No, they played it pretty straight at the end of it.
Yeah. Do you remember how many times it was played live?
No.
I knew you were going to ask that, Corey. I can't remember.
Got some music? Here we go.
At least according to the set list.
Mean Street.
You know what? We're not going to do it tonight. I'm just going to let you know. Mean Street. They played a grand. How about 251 times?
Wow, that was close. Wow.
That includes the Sharon era, right? They played it during.
It does, yep.
Sharon did great.
All the way up to 2013, they played this one, yeah.
Remember Gary in the Australia show?
When they slow to play this one live.
Corey, I imagine this one fell into the same category as the majority. This is your number 2?
This is my number 4, but let's get back to the folks who asked.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
You're the host. This is the guy who really likes humans being.
Okay. Hey. Shut it up. Shut up. The difference between 4 and 1 is very, very minute for me. I love all 4 of these songs.
I ranked 5 and you picked 4.
Yeah, I know. And how's everyone yelling at me? I ranked it higher than you did. But I love Mean Street. It's fantastic. All I can equate it to is deep down in my gut, what we love about music, right? If I'm listening to Fair Warning, what song makes me happier? And I gotta say, there was 3 tracks that make me slightly happier than Mean Street. I love Mean Street. Everything about it is fantastic. I don't disagree with anything anybody said. It's just if I'm looking to put on a track and just go bopping down the highway on my way to the gym or what have you, I'm probably going to put on Hear About It Later or our number 1 song or So This Is Love. But to me, the difference between 1 and 4 is very minute. They're all fantastic.
You lost us when you said 4. You lost us. We stopped listening.
I know.
At that point.
There's people who put it lower.
I know. I was about to say no, I'm still baffled at the number 5 ranking. So
this is like Milli Vanilli winning Best New Artist. Man, I don't know. Very upset about Milli.
Shut up about the sun. Well, then
I guess inviting Sean on the show again.
It's no, we'll have him back. We'll just question him. We'll put him in the hot seat the whole time.
Yeah. I just want to go through the names that had it number 1. Ryan Powell had it number 1. Jeff Brewer, obviously, if you guys couldn't fucking guess, had it number 1. Janice Risco had it number 1. I want to mention Heath McCoy, a good patron of ours, had it number 2, as did Brad Gould. Tyron Ronbruster had it number 1. Ben Andriozzi had it number 2. Nate from the Deep Purple Podcast had it at number 3. Let's all take pitchforks and flaming torches to his house. Matt Lacasse had it number 2. Josh, our good buddy Josh, who's not feeling well tonight, but he's checking things out. Hi, Josh. He had it number 1. Greg Zito had it number 2. Kevin Brown had it number 1. And then if we go to our special guest, Johnny Bean had it at number 3. Todd McGinnity had it at number 1. Greg Prado had it at number 1. Kelsey had it at 3. Jeff Goebel at number 2. Greg Renoff at number 2. Steve Rosen at number 1. And Darren Paltrowitz at number 2. And Steve Roth also at number 2.
Wow. Number 3, like between 3, 4, and 5. I don't know. I don't get it. But hey, them's the breaks, right? Well, that being said, Corey, the veil has been dropped. Our number 1 most voted song in Fair Warning is, of course, Unchained.
That's right. Let's take a look at the numbers here. Unchained finishes number 1. Total points 266, only 4 behind Mean Street. Its highest ranking, number 1 on 14 ballots. Its lowest ranking was number 6 on only 1 ballot. It didn't rank 9th or 8th or 7th on anyone's ballots. Number 1 vote at 6th, no votes at 5, 2 votes at 4, 4 votes at 3, 12 votes at 2, and 14 votes at number 1. And that was really the difference. There was one more first place vote for Unchained, and that's really what kind of put it ahead. So Unchained finishes number 1.
How did this come up in anything other than top 5? Who did 6?
Now I'm gonna which one of you did it? Which one of you did it? Corey, which one of them did it?
I'm looking it up as we speak. Number 6.
I'm
Unchained.
Kelsey.
Scott's looking
Kelsey.
What?
Kelsey put it at number 6.
Oh well, okay.
What?
Well, she took the whole. She took the whole female empowerment piece of that Dirty Movies, right? So she put that one ahead. That's
She
why.
did. She put Dirty Movies number 1.
That's why it
so,
ended
yeah.
up at 6. That's it.
Kelsey, I know you're listening to the show later. Maybe you're watching it. And you have so much explaining to do.
Yes.
And we're not gonna let you off the hook. We're gonna sit here and we're gonna wait
I was
until you
giving her the
listen
out.
to the show. Nope. There will be no outs. I want to know. Now, if she had
Man,
ranked
she's
it,
owning that song. She's owning Dirty Movies. I think that's a lot.
Yep.
If she had
I
ranked
am
it,
all about that. That's great.
if she had ranked it 2, 3, I might have let it go. But like, I don't agree. But all right, fine. But 6.
Yeah.
Come on.
All right. Yeah.
Lots of explanations. So
explaining to do.
look, I'll start it off here, and this is what I'll say. It's Unchained.
Hey, Davey.
Is iconic. What's up, Davey? It's iconic. It's certainly in my young musical upbringing. This song was a standout. I think it's one, if not the. It's probably not the, but it's one of their heavier songs, like riff-wise. And I'm all about the heavies. If you know anything about me, and I don't know, man, just. It's Unchained, right? Like it's kind of like Mean Streets. Like, what are you gonna say about Mean Streets that needs to be said? It's a great track. The only reason Mean Streets wasn't my number 1 is because it's Unchained. Unchained has to be number 1. At least for my musical upbringing, it had to be number 1. It's just it's so perfect of a Van Halen song. They have many songs that I would say that's a perfect Van Halen song. I personally think Unchained is one of them. Therefore, there was no choice. It had to be number 1. This one just hits me right where it needs to hit me. So therefore, there it is. And it makes for the whole album, even though it doesn't start the album. It makes the whole album really just be a standout. And thankfully, the show and the journey with the show have really opened my eyes to Fair Warning, whereas I didn't have it. I just knew a couple of songs. Like, yeah, those are cool. Maybe I'll check out that album sometime. Thankfully, the show made me sit down and actually analyze it, and it's been great. But therefore, only by maybe a smidge, but Unchained has to take the number 1 spot for me. But I know it is not number 1 for Chris L. Chris, how do you feel, and where did you put Unchained?
All right, so this is my hot take. I had it at 4. And the sole reason for that is just kind of overexposure. I mean, I've just heard it so much, and just get to the point where I appreciate the deeper cuts, but I really wouldn't have it higher than 3. I mean, I'm on a given day I might bump it up over here about it later, but it would never top Mean Street or So This Is Love for me. So I mean, it's not really, would never really leapfrog any of those, but I mean, obviously it's incredible. You got the jet plane flanger, you got the drop D tuning, which is that and Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, the first 2 like drop D tuned songs I can remember ever hearing. And before I knew about alternate tunings, I was just like, man, how do they get that heavy sound, And then somebody, one of my guitar teachers was just like, yeah, you just tune your E down to D and there you go. And it's like, oh fuck, there it is. I didn't even know you had I didn't even know you had the permission by the universe to retune your guitars and stuff.
Right.
And then I learned about, Keith Richards just taking one string off and retuning the whole fucking thing, and it's like, oh, that's or Mick Ralph's. It's like, oh, that's why I can't get enough to sound the same as the record, because he's got a whole alternate tuning, But anyway, I'm digressing a little bit. But a funny story about it happened actually today related to the song. I'll try and make it quick, but so I was out with my wife, doing some stuff, and then we decided to go to grab a bite on Valparaiso, Indiana, and went into this restaurant, and they had like a classic rock, not radio, but like, you know, whatever they served to restaurants where they just have the songs playing, there's no ads or whatever. And this is what I kind of alluded to earlier, Corey. When we walked in, there was a fucking ELO song playing, which don't ask me why we didn't walk right back out when it happened, but it is one of our favorite restaurants, so we gave it a pass. But the whole time I'm like, man, how am I going to approach the possibility of doing a podcast on a Saturday night to my wife, you know, because she, I figured she's like, would want to have something else to do. And, you know, one of those husbandly things where like, man, how am I going to get permission from my wife to do this, you know? And about 3 more songs into it, we're in the middle of the appetizer and Unchained comes on. And I was just like, first of all, I've never heard this in a restaurant. And second, you never even hear it on classic rock radio. It's not even on the rotation of Van Halen hits that have been driven into the ground on radio. And when I heard that, I was just like a sign from above. I'm like, you know, right there in the restaurant, I'm like, so do you mind if I go on a Van Halen podcast tonight? And she was, you know, she was fine with it. So that just was kind of funny how that happened today. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously incredible song, iconic, but for me, it might jump up to 3 on a different day, but you know, that's probably as high as it would get for me.
Well, you know, that's a decent explanation. And you know, again, I have to remember it's like it's all subjective, but fair enough. Scott Monroe, how about your take?
Well, I had Mean Street above it, but hey, it's great. It's classic. It is a perfect encapsulation of their core sound. It's really, when you think about Van Halen pop metal, this is the song I think of. It's just, it really speaks to everything they do so well. I continue to think that if you do look at more objective metrics, this is arguably the best Van Halen song, period. But you got to just go with your gut sometimes and what you like. So I totally understand, you know, why this is number 1 for so many. I do think it suffers from what, you know, happens with so many of the hits. We just hear them so much and we get sick of them. So I think that probably played into some of the balloting. But it's great, man. It really, I don't see how you could possibly not have it in your top 5 at least. But for me, it's number 2.
Well, apparently some people don't put it in their top 5, and I don't get that either. But it's fine. Sean, can you redeem yourself with this one?
Yeah, this was my number 1. This is one of those songs that Fast Fret would play at the time. So there's nostalgia associated with it. The flanger again, watching him play it live watching my brother play it live on stage. So for me, my brother was like my favorite guitar player. So if he's playing a Van Halen song, for me, it elevated the song because my brother learned how to play it. But it originally, when I did my voting for it, it wasn't rated as high because of the overexposure. It kind of, I mean, my brother played it all the time to the point that I got sick of it. But looking at it again and listening to it with fresh ears, when we did our episode, it was like, I can't deny that this song has every single Van Halenism in it, and it's absolutely perfect. So I rated it number 1.
As well, you should, but you know, not everybody did. So, Chaz, are you one of those?
No, man.
Yes, you are. That was a joke.
I voted Sinner's Swing number 1, but
yes, I know.
This was number 2. You know, God, I mean, that's why when you were talking before, I picked up my guitar. The whole reason for the D-Tuna, you know, his whole patent. was to be able to just pop that, to be able to play this song real quick and get right back into things. For me, yeah, when this came out, and it was like someone else mentioned, so heavy. The first time I heard the real heavy use of a drop D, I think the only way I had become aware of different tunings before that was like some Led Zeppelin, right? So this was really hearing it in metal for the first time for me, like even before Sabbath. And I was just blown away. And like the same thing, I could not figure out how the hell he was doing it. Was just like, where is he doing this? How is he getting it so low? And quite honestly, I mean, for me, for like, God, 2 or 3 years when I was a kid, this was like, every day I played this riff on my guitar. This was like, wanting to feel like king of the world and a rock star. There was no better riff when you finally figured out that all you needed to do was twist the key and you could be Eddie Van Halen. Like, holy shit, this sounds incredible. And there was nothing else like it. So we used to try to write songs with it too. And that was, for me, so much fun at that point, because everything he did, it was so different. We always, and we couldn't do it like him. So it was like, okay, what can we do with it? So that's what, quite honestly, why he was such an innovator, is because so many of us couldn't really do his thing, but we could take it and try and do our own thing with it. And that's what made me fall in love with the guitar. This was one of those songs. So yeah, if you can't tell, probably number 1 or 2 Van Halen song.
Yeah. Very, very cool. Very cool. Scott Everett, how about you, man?
I had a number 1. The first time I heard him play it live was 1984. 11 years old. Saw things that I never saw before. Smelled things that I'd never smelled before. And they opened the concert. And when Dave said everybody up, everybody rose up, and that's why he's one of the greatest frontmen of all time. Just amazing song. I have amazing memories from it. From 1984 to 2012, again, they opened that tour with it, and they dropped the curtain with Wolf on it, and the crowd went insane. It's probably my favorite concert opener of all time. And who the hell interplays with their producer during the song? I mean, only Van Halen after a solo like that. So just an amazing song. One of my all-time favorites from Van Halen.
Yeah, right on. There you go. And Scott Haskett, how about yourself, man? It's not your number 1. We know that.
It's definitely not my number 1. I just like to talk about Sunday Afternoon some more. No, I had to sit number 4. It was okay. I think the chorus to me just kind of wears on me after a while, because it's just, okay, we're going to go Unchained and just pace. Like there's no real variety in it. And I'm not a big fan of talking parts in the middle of songs, so that's what kind of ruined it for me. But
come on, dude, give me a break.
But I got to tell
well done
quick, story along with Chris L's 8-track story. So I worked on a 48-hour film challenge over a weekend doing the score, and the people that I worked with were like, well, we want to see the film that you worked on. So once I got the copy, I didn't think anything about what was in the content of this film. And there's this, now this is like a family-friendly work environment, right? So there's people of all ages, different religions, and all that sort of thing. And there's a point in the movie, it's a movie about speed dating. And there's a point in the movie where one of the guys is trying to impress the girl, and he goes 10 inches. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that I just brought that into work. So I kind of replayed the rest of the movie in my head really quickly and realized that was the only part. But yeah, that was definitely one of those 8-track out of the player as quick as it can type moments for me.
No. All the 8 tracks, everybody. And let's see, going right over to Eric Sinich himself. How about you?
It's the quintessential Van Halen song. It is absolutely the definition of Van Halen Dave era. In fact, when I got into Van Halen, it was 1984. And, well, actually, I should say I was exposed to Van Halen through 1984. When I really became a fan was during the same era, OU812 and When It's Love. My friends in school were like, you got to listen to 5150 and Your Dreams, Love Walks In, Why Can't This Be Love? And my older brother said, you got to hear the Dave era. And the first time I heard Unchained, I mean, it was instant, man. It was just fucking goosebumps. That riff, just adrenaline rush. And that's when I was just pretty much, I woke up and said, okay, this is the Dave era. This is that hardcore, Dave era Van Halen. And I'm removing the, like Chris L said, and the other guys have said, it's been played a lot, and they factored that in. I removed it from the equation, and the driving beat and Dave's humor in there, the breakdown, unbelievable. And Alex during the solo, again, it's just what he's doing is just, I wonder what Ed's career would have been like if he was just playing with just a straight ahead drummer who's just keeping time, and that's it, because it just elevates Ed. I mean, when he's doing all that stuff, just that dun, 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 dun,
absolutely,
it's fucking mind blowing. And yeah, it's just pure adrenaline, man.
And I can what you were just saying, I can totally see why Al is not playing anymore. I mean, the way the two of them could anticipate each other, right? And the things that they did creatively together, just sensing where they were going to go. It was just totally feel, right? And how could you ever think you could do that again, right? I
love the Oz Festival and in the middle of what song? They're just the two of them, right?
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
Ding, 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 and Alex just a big smile. You could just see how much they love playing with each other on stage, in the studio, whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
There definitely is a
very evident
between siblings. Like my brother played guitar and I was a drummer. Sean, you probably got the same thing. There's just you know each other well enough, and you know each other's playing that you just feel. You learn to write and create together, and you have your styles become very similar. So
you meet at the same intersections, right? That's
exactly, it. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, there you go. And all right, finally, to round it all out, Corey, your vote, sir.
Unchained takes me back to when I was a young man at 15. We'd make the 30-minute drive down to Plentywood, Montana, stop at the Come and Go, or the Ejaculate and Evacuate, as we called it.
I was waiting for this story.
This was the first song that I got some action with a young lady from Plentywood, Montana. This was playing at a Come and Go.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Boy. Back then, way back in the late 80s, early 90s, girls in Plentywood would do a lot for a six-pack of Canadian beer, let me tell you. And I had Plentywood, let me tell you that. So Unchained has a very special place in my heart. But I think it was so. Yeah, maybe
see that one
undressed.
There you go. Sometimes I wish I was back at the Ejaculate and Evacuate. I got some leg that night, let me tell you. But
for sure.
Unchained has always been one of my favorite songs. It's top 5 Van Halen for me. I love everything about it. I'm not going to apologize. Sorry, Jeff. I love Mean Street too, and I don't care if you think Mean Street's a better song. I love Unchained. I put it number 1.
He said, "I'm not going to apologize," and followed immediately with, "I'm sorry, Jeff."
Here's another Canadian, right? Here's another alternate title for the song based on Corey's exploits: "Sack Drained."
Yes.
I think there's a Nick Pollock song coming there.
That's not my heart. It doesn't have to be. It was something else, and it was good.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Can't wait for
the best 20 seconds of your life, right there.
Damn right.
You weren't going to the Come and Go for a slushie. That wasn't for.
It's not your heart, Corey. It's your Corey heart. That's
a T-shirt, joke. Corey. Was it Ejaculate and Evaporate? Whatever the fuck. Make a T-shirt.
Evacuate. Evaporate is a totally different evening, Eric. I don't know how you do things nowadays.
Yes. That's a job for Kevin Brown. Oh, boy. By next week.
Oh my God, Kevin! Please, whenever you hear this, please make just whatever iteration of that shirt.
Wasn't Ejaculate and Evaporate the title of a Star Trek episode?
Probably.
One of the many times Kirk banged some.
No. That was Next Generation. That was Next Generation.
I believe that was probably a Deep Space Nine.
Oh,
there you go.
If we're just there you go. Yeah, let that one sink in for a second.
I thought that's what Poison called their greatest hits album.
Oh my God, that's right. Yeah.
But Mark, we're not the only two that put Unchained number one. Let's just kind of go through some of our favorite people here. Michael Griffith, who couldn't join us here tonight, he put it number one. Heath McCoy had it number one. Brad Gould had it number one. So did Ben Andriozzi. Matt Lacoste had it number one. Greg Zito had it number one. Let's see who else. Johnny Bean had it number two. Of course, Todd McGinnity had it number two. Greg Prado had it number two. Kelsey, of course, number six. Man, she's got some explaining to do. Jeff Goebel had it number one. Greg Renoff had it number one. And Steve Rosen had it number three. Darren Paltrowitz had it number one, and Steve Roth had it number three. For our fans on the polls, it was really, really close. Actually, Unchained comes in at number two, 95.6% What Dreams Are Made Of, 4.4% The Dream Is Over, whereas Mean Street was 96.7% What Dreams Are Made Of, 3.3% This Dream Is Over. So less than 1% difference. So it really close everywhere you look, except for Kelsey.
I just can't look at Corey the same way ever again.
Ejaculate, evaporate.
That's awesome.
Evacuate, not evaporate. You're talking about a very different evening, Chaz. I have stories about that too.
We'll be hearing the Corey's.
Dome had a song called Premature Evacuation, right?
I feel bad because Chris L told that wonderful story about his wife and at the restaurant and Unchained came on and I just sullied the whole proceedings. I feel terrible.
You sullied it with your Montana adventures, and if you want a full episode of Corey's evaporation explanation, then tune into the Patreon. I'm sure we can make that happen for you guys, but at a
Convenience
cost.
Store in Montana. Holy shit!
That's right. The next song was Girls School by Brittany Fox. If you want to hear about that,
Brittany Fox
at the girls' school.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a band.
That was a band, but that is not our podcast. I'm sure Corey will do that one later because he's devouring them all, and you'll have no choice but to be a part of the CMPU if you want to continue your airwave podcasting career. But until that time, it's just us here, and that's it, man. We've wrapped it up. We've ranked it. We got Corey. You want to run down 9 through 1 real quick once more for the fans?
Sure. At number 9, we had One Foot Out the Door. Number 8 was Sunday Afternoon in the Park. Number 7, Push Comes to Shove. Number 6, Sinner Swing. Number 5, Dirty Movies. Number 4, So This Is Love. Number 3, Hear About It Later. Number 2, Mean Street. And the number 1 song, according to not just me, but the majority of people that we polled, was Unchained.
Unchained. There you go. That's fair warning, you guys. And I hope, if nothing else, that this episode and the previous episodes where we've discussed each track challenges you to go back and take another look at Fair Warning, or another listen, rather, kind of like I did when I was just sort of kind of met on it. But until this show, I really sort of gave it a new perspective, and it really helped out and made this ranking difficult, but still extra fun. And I hope everyone on the panel had good fun discussing Fair Warning. So around the board, give it up to our panelists, everybody. Chris L., please, thank you so much for being on the show. We appreciate you so much. Let the people know where they can find you and what you got going on.
Podofthunder.com is the website, and new episode every Monday. We're about to venture into what we call every year September, which would be songs that exemplify the primal horniness of Tom Jones. We close each month with a Tom Jones song, but leading up to it is just not necessarily that style of music. It's just stuff that we think encapsulates the Tom Jones vibe in some way. And I highly recommend tuning in for the first episode, which is my pick. I'm pretty stoked about it. So
is Coital on that episode?
Coital will be on the final episode of the month. So
you had me at primal horniness. So yeah, everyone tune into that. That's
September is phenomenal. Yeah, it's their best month of shows. Yeah.
And the fact that it correlates with primal horniness with Tom Jones. It's just never thought I would hear that phrase, but it makes sense. And I can't wait to check that out. That's going to be great. Scott Monroe, man. Wait.
So I was just going to ask, Chris, is there any chance of Mama Jones coming on for September?
I don't know. That would be up to those guys. I don't know how comfortable I would be discussing some of that subject matter with their mom.
That's exactly why.
But, you know, it's really up to them. You know, those guys are full of surprises and never know what to expect when they come walking through the door here at Montezuma Studios. So we'll see what happens.
Right on. Scott Monroe, thank you so much, man, for all of your manifestos, all the things that you do, your contributions. Please let the people know where they can find you if they want to reach out.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. You can find me on Twitter or X or whatever it's called, at Scott D. Monroe, and I'll continue the manifestos as long as I can.
Keep them up. We enjoy reading them. So, Sean McGinnity, man, always a pleasure having you on the show. Been a while since you've been on the show.
It's been too long,
last. So, yeah, very, very much so. We'll have to have you on pretty soon. Until that time, please let the people know what you're up to and where they can find you.
The show is called the Sean Geek and Fast Ret Podcast. That's me and my brother Todd, and we talk about bullshit pretty much every week. I'm actually, right after this episode, I am recording. So if anybody wants to come along, I'm doing a solo episode because my brother's out performing on stage right now as we speak. But yeah, we bullshit every week about whatever Todd feels like talking about. Pretty much, that's pretty much it.
It's Todd's show. You're just here along for the ride. I understand. That's kind of what I'm doing with Corey's whole podcasting universe. I'm just here. You know, I'm just enjoying the ride until I am devoured. Chaz Mataz, man, the chart Chaz extraordinaire. Always a pleasure, man. You always got insightful things to say. Please let the people know what you got going on and where they can find you.
Well, thanks for having me on this. This was fun. You know, honestly, the worst thing about Fair Warning was Michael Anthony's outfit in that video. Right? I mean, yeah. For those of you that don't know what we're talking about, you just have to go watch the video from Oakland. His outfit is the worst. But anyway, that said, right? This was just great. I'm all over Twitter these days, or X, whatever the hell you call it, doing podcast stuff. So we just wrapped up Regarding Lulu. So at Regarding Lulu, there's 11 episodes of our journey through the Lulu album out there. We're launching a new podcast, so at Regarding Roger, which will be our walk through Roger Waters and his retake of Dark Side of the Moon, so another 11 episode mini cast, if you will. And then we're launching a weekly Rush Rash, so the Rush Rash podcast at Rush Rash Podcast. We'll be starting that next month, so in the middle of September, but 167 songs. The wheel has been built and we're ready to go. So thanks for having me here, and look forward to having all of you out there. Come talk Rush.
That's going to be.
Hey, Chaz, can I ask you a question real quick?
Show. Yeah. Sure. Go ahead.
You did Regarding Lulu, which was really, 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 really interesting. But when is the Milli Vanilli podcast?
Milli Vanilli.
Yeah. A one episode show.
Blame it on the rain.
They were a thing, and then they weren't. The end.
We have to find one that's already been done.
I do blame it on Lorraine.
Dude, they were ahead of their time. Come on, look at Motley Crue. I mean, you know, there's precursor here.
Yep.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm willing to do an episode on it.
I'm there. Let's go do that right now. We'll go over to your podcast and we'll talk about frauds.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, okay, come over. Come over. We're doing it right after this.
All right, you heard it here, folks. Be on the lookout for the Milli Vanilli show by
Milli
these two
Vanilli Motley
schmucks.
Crue cast. Oh,
Motley and the Milli Vanilli crew. I don't know something. That's Motley Shrews. There you go. That's
Motley Vanilli.
Terrible.
Mick Mars forever. Solidarity with Mick. That's all I got to say.
I'll concede to that. Scott Everett, man, always a pleasure having you here, man. Love your takes. Please let the people know where they can find you and what you got going on.
At J Scott Everett on all the platforms, and just thank y'all for having me tonight, and thank y'all for that are hosting podcasts for keeping the music alive. I mean, makes my week every week getting to listen to podcasts and everyone else. So thank you.
Well, we appreciate you listening, and thank you so much for your contributions, man. You're always a pleasure. Scott Haskin, I mean, you're all over the place, but you can still let the people know what you got. You have a lot going on right now. Let them know what you got and where they can find you.
I do. And first, I just want to say thanks for having me on, and thanks for not kicking me off after you found out what my number one pick was. And once again, I did not put sexiest podcaster on that, but I'm not going to argue it.
Well, now we know you are. So
I feel like a trip to the Montana border is in order now. So Uriah Heep, the Magicians podcast, is pretty much wrapped up until they come out with another album. 398 episodes are out there on all the podcast platforms. The Haskincast podcast is still in transition, so there are episodes on YouTube, but all the album reviews and everything are offline for a few more days until it gets transitioned. And then for all my music and books and all the other things I'm involved in, you can go to my website, scotthaskin.com, and everything is there. You can also hear me on Backtrack's Aerosmith Revisited with one Corey Morissette. And I just, whatever Corey, I'm the Scotty to his Kirk.
The Scotty to his Kirk.
Scotty.
Didn't even give himself Spock. That's
He's
how
the
humble.
engineer.
He's a humble Scott, this one. You know.
I don't know. They're claiming Scotty is humble, but that's just me. It's my opinion.
Hey, Scotty's kind of the unsung hero of the OT.
I'm saying, I don't know if that's a humble swipe.
I agree.
But anyway,
It's true. I could also tell another story about another road trip. And Chris, you actually might be more familiar with this. I don't know if you ever went up to Jackson, Michigan to see the Cascades. But my grandparents were taking us up there for the weekend, and that was when Slide It In had come out. And I had my brother and I each had our little cassette, the mini cassette players, and we were each listening to Slide It In. And I was actually on the song Slide It In, and my grandpa's like, "Hey, why don't you just, why don't one of you give me your tape, and we'll just all listen to the music." I'm like, I don't think you'd like this.
Yeah, no.
That would have been a moment for sure.
I think Spit It Out would have been even worse. But,
Kid friendly. It's almost a Disney soundtrack, that album.
Just the dark side of Disney that people don't like to talk about, but it's there. Good stuff. Eric Sinich, man, you came in clutch. We knew you would. We knew a wild Eric Sinich would make an appearance because he always does, and that's what we appreciate about you.
Yeah, glad I could.
Please let the people know where they can find you.
Okay, wait.
Oh, who put that
Jesus.
there? Who put that there? Well, that was me. That's right. I put that there. Yeah, thanks guys for having me, man. I always love being on. It's hard to take me seriously with that ejaculation. I'm sorry, Corey. Corey, that one's gonna last forever.
Saying Baba Booey. Like this. Gotta say Baba Booey.
That's kind of like a White Snake song. Ejaculate and evaporate. Slow and easy.
Some Anvil songs. We gotta read some Anvil.
Yeah, let me remove that so we can actually finish this. Here we go. Hold on. Let's see. Let's remove
Metal.
that.
Yeah, change it to Metal Pounder. Wasn't it Metal Pounder?
I mean,
Metal Pounder.
Metal Pounders. That's right. The Metal Pounders.
I want to finish with VHND because I got a question for you guys.
Esteemed VHND.
Yeah.
But bookedonrock.com. The podcast is Booked on Rock. Just had Liberty DeVito, Billy Joel's long time.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, man. Awesome guy.
Oh man,
awesome Italiano from New York.
Oh, that movie,
Yeah.
Hired Gun, right?
Dude,
The
fucking
Jason
great
Hook
drummer.
movie, great movie that Liberty was featured in prominently.
Yeah, Liberty's the man. So we just had him on. Just had Greg Prato on too. He's got a book on the grunge rock Seattle scene that just went up.
Damn.
Yeah, what else? I had some recent episodes on the Jive 95, which is the first underground FM rock station. Was based out of San Francisco in the late 60s, which is really cool. Howard Hessman was on the station called KMPX in San Francisco. He became Johnny Fever from KRP.
Yeah, sure.
Had that one. And coming up, I have... actually, I'm interviewing Daniel Buckspan, who has this book out. Ozzy at 75. So I'm interviewing him Tuesday night. This is the book, man. Check this shit out.
Oh, wow.
The Ozman. Yeah, there's Randy. So I'm going to be interviewing Daniel on that.
Nice.
What else do I have coming up? I'm just thinking, man, I've got episodes lined up for like the next, 6 weeks or so. Martin Popoff wrote a book on quadrophenia. We'll be on soon. I got an episode on David Bowie's Monsters album from 1980. Adam Steiner, the author, wrote a book on that. So a lot of good stuff coming up. Bookedonrock.com, or you could just find the podcast anywhere you get your favorite podcasts. But yeah, VHND.com, of course, right? And this week, with a big thing, we just left it up there the whole week, was that fucking Donington show. And I don't know if you guys talked about it yet because I joined late, but what do you guys think of this fucking thing, man? Mind blow.
Yes.
Wow.
Right?
Amazing.
Just
Holy grail.
And it keeps
Holy
getting
grail.
pulled down, of course.
Holy grail.
It's pulled down again, but at this point now, everybody's, who's a Van Halen fan has it, I'm sure. But man, that's Holy Grail, and you're seeing Valerie, the two Valeries. You got Eddie's wife Valerie and Alex's then wife Valerie walking up the stairs, and you see Dave and Alex talking before the show. And what's interesting is the band's on fire, of course, but knowing now the tensions within the band, I don't know, maybe I'm reading into it, but nobody's looking at Dave. Like, Dave's talking, but Alex doesn't make eye contact with him, and he's not making even on stage, they're just so fucking done. They're
What about that
burned
line?
out.
What about on stage when he says Michael Jackson ain't got shit? Heavy metal, baby, right?
Yeah.
Right? Because wasn't it on the way to this where he gave Eddie the tape of his solo record?
Right. It's
on the flight over.
On the flight to
on the
this,
flight
right?
over.
Yes.
This was when it was all brewing up.
Good call.
Yeah, man.
And he's doing it. God, I'm thinking now, Chaz. Yeah, Dave's doing the fucking the moonwalk, and
He's totally fucking with him the whole show.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, and nobody's looking at Dave. I mean, at that point, they're just like, his ego is out of control. But the band, it just gives you an idea of just how fucking great that band was.
Yeah.
And what a showman Dave was. And Dave's voice sounded, I think his voice sounded great. Some of the comments I saw on the links said, I think somebody said he didn't sound good, but he sounds fucking great. And
They sounded all right.
That's one of his best live recordings.
Yeah. And just the band is on fire. I'd love to see the whole thing, but just to get a pro shot footage, because we've only seen pictures of this show, you just, and you're on stage, you're right there on fucking stage. And then you get to see their manager is there, Noel Monk. You could see him. He's the dude with the mustache. And Dave's bodyguard, Eddie Anderson, who we always would talk about. Eddie Anderson's the one's like taking all the guys and girls running on stage trying to touch every member of the band, and they pull them off to the side. Just fucking madness. And that crowd is, and Dave's eating them up. He's just got them in the palm of his hand, and there's one point where I think it was it Hot for Teacher or something, and Dave is just so fired up, like he goes to Eddie's like that. He puts his hands on Ed's head, and it's classic Eddie, just like not even acknowledge, he's just jamming, unbelievable. And then what's cool is Michael Anthony's playing the keys. He's playing the keys on I'll Wait.
And Joe.
It's just phenomenal. And there's a lot of talk about who owns it and the legal aspects of it and why it's being taken down. There's somebody who I'm not even gonna say his name because I don't know if it's for sure, but there's somebody who claims he has ownership over it, and he's the one that's trying to pull it down. Who knows? But there's that there's a lot more than this that's out there, and I just
probably
think
a studio thing if I had to guess.
For the legacy of the band, people need to fucking see this stuff, man. The younger generation who never got a chance to see them live. This is a band that can. This is the band. Mike doesn't look very.
Yeah, he doesn't look happy.
Well, they're treating Mike like shit by that.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, there's
he just lost his publishing at that point.
He wasn't happy about a lot.
Whether that's true or not, at this point here, man. Yeah.
But there's the story Noah Monk's book where they're all just.
Did he lose the publishing right before that show?
Well, supposedly, I don't know if that's true or not.
But now they're saying he didn't.
Yeah.
Sammy said lately he didn't.
Yeah, he lost it, but they didn't enforce it, is what I heard.
Noah Monk wrote it in his book, but I don't know how true it is. Just leave it at that.
I just think it's all bullshit.
But there's in Noah Monk's book that there's that scene that he sets where they're all they're eating dinner or whatever, and they're just Ed and Alan Dave are just
giving Mike
with
shit,
Mike sitting there. Yeah, I mean we talked about it, Mark and Corey, when I had you on the show.
Yeah.
It's like, why is he getting a fourth? What the fuck? He's not writing it. There's Michael Anthony just like zipping the lip, and then Dave gets up and takes a fucking plate of food and slams it down and like just stares down Michael, and then there's food all over Mike, and he just gets up, brushes it off, and walks out the room. It's like, God damn, man, Michael Anthony has. I don't know how
a lot of patience, and a lot of probably at that point just like he's kind of like a parent who's just sick of the children's shit and is like, it's best to just like walk away from this. Otherwise, he's just gonna scream uncontrollably, and then I don't know, whatever. But
he's thinking bigger picture the whole time. I think he just
bigger picture and grace. People might say Mike just kind of bitched out for that. Like I don't think he did. I think he held back like with tremendous restraint from the jovial drunkards and what have you, because at that point they're just out of their minds. But
I'll say this: I would say just one last thought. I think all those guys loved Mike. I think they all love each other. I mean, it's just you're talking about four guys like up in each other's fucking faces for many years by that point, and now and Dave's ego out of control because he's the biggest front man in rock and a lot of pressure and the drugs, there's drugs, there's alcohol, all that stuff going on. So they just needed a break. I wish they just took a break and then got back. But there wasn't much communication there. It was a lot of like passive aggressive stuff there. And it was like, did Dave quit? Did he get fired or what's going on? I don't think Dave really thought he was leaving for good. I think he was just going to do his thing and come back. And next thing you know, it's like Sammy's in the band and that's it.
Yep. Oh, band drama.
End of an era.
No band can escape it. It's going to happen, especially if you're going as hard as that band was going. And as you say, no breaks. So, it happens to the best of them. It happens to the worst of them too. So,
it's just a great piece of history right there.
One of the things that bothers me. One of the things that bothers me about when people talk about like, and with the songwriting and, it was all Eddie and it was all Dave and Mike didn't do anything and Al didn't do anything. I'm sorry. Who wrote Al's drum parts? Why do people say Al did not contribute to the songwriting? Right. Al's parts were intricate. I mean, they were intricate and integral to the whole thing. Yeah. I can get that Mike maybe didn't, but certainly
Let's go to Chris next.
Let me just bust it. Let me answer that question real quick. Is like everybody knows that songwriting is lyrics and melody. And you don't really get that from bass or drums. So that's really where people draw the line is that who wrote the lyrics, who wrote the melodies. I agree with you on like the musical performances and Mikey's background vocals being intricate to, how a song comes out and how a song is remembered. But when pun intended, push comes to shove and there's all this money and ego involved, that's how you lay down the gauntlet. It's like, did you write any lyrics? No. Did you write any melodies? No. Then you shouldn't get a songwriting credit.
Well, yeah.
Then hold on. My other thing is, I'll just it's very rare that I get any sort of inside information, but I don't know if this is the same person that Mr. VHND was referencing, but someone in our inner circle told us that he's part owner of that footage, and he says there's about 50 hours of unreleased footage that Alex wants to turn into a documentary, and he wasn't really sure how that Donington thing got leaked, but he definitely, y'all can put two and two together on who that is, but says he's part owner, and they went about the business of having that leaked footage taken down.
Yep. Interesting. Well, see, but what you wish that if they just handled it with, as far as Mike's concerned, why not just sit him down and say, dude, I know when we started it was splitting it 4 ways, but you know what, is it cool if we just give you? Do you think Michael Anthony would be like, fuck you? I think Michael was just like, yeah, it's cool. I get it. Instead of not
he was probably
like pissed at him.
Yeah, way more easygoing because I think he was just happy of the paid gig, and he was happy that it was consistent, and maybe he's one of those guys that, as long as I'm consistently working, staying on the road, doing the thing that I want to be doing, and it's paid, I've got no complaints. So it seems like Mikey didn't have a lot of complaints based on the gig. So, roll with the punches, as it were, just kind of easy go. But at the same time, like, I'm not going to try and, kiss ass with these dudes just because. Why should I? Like, I'm in the band. I don't have to kiss ass like everybody else. Yeah. But maybe not. Maybe there's a whole other thing, but that's up to Mikey to tell that side of the story. Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. It's just all up to speculation. But all of that being
he's
said,
a classy
you guys,
guy. Yeah, he's a
classy guy. But all that being said, you guys.
Those guys had
Let's go ahead and wrap this up.
Yeah. Those guys had a blast in those years. They had a good time.
Hell yes.
They had a blast, and they made great tunes, and that's why we're here. We're discussing one album of many, but it's the legacy of the great Van Halen. Old and new, current, whatever members aside, it's all the same band, it's all the same love, and that's why we're here to show the appreciation. And we appreciate all of you listening, all of you guys who tuned into the chat, all of our panelists here. Corey, appreciate you all the time, always. Even when you are just going to take over all the podcasting airwaves, and that'll be it. And that's just, you're just off into the sunset, devouring all the podcasts. And I will have enjoyed my run when that occurs, but it's not yet. Today is not that day. This is just one more show. We've still got 29 songs left on the wheel for the Van Halen catalog, you guys. 29. We are in the last 30 of it, so plenty of shows left to go around, plenty of opportunities to hear the esteemed guests that we have on the show again, and other guests as well, so be on the lookout for that, you guys. Podcastwillrock.com. Find all of our shows there. You can find some merch there. Buy some merch. Buy a shirt. Be on the lookout for that, because I'm sure after today's episode, Kevin Brown is just going to have a field day, just absolutely coming up with some crazy designs. You can find me at Mark the Bat on Twitter and Instagram, or X, whatever it's called. Podcast at Podcast Will Rock, also on Twitter, Facebook. I'm running those things now, so if there's a lack of activity, that's just because I either forget or I'm lazy. I'm sorry. Social media is just like it's whatever. But you can check out Corey and all of the podcasts he does, and everybody, all the people at the Deep Dive podcast, and everybody who's mentioned their shows respectively. Thank you all so much for being part of this. We are And the Podcast Will Rock, and we will rock you later.